One day the word of the Lord came to me, Jonah. Get up on your feet and go to Nineveh. I want you to preach there. The city are in a bad way and I can't ignore it any longer. But I got up and I went in the opposite direction, heading for a place called Tarshish. I went down to the port of Joppa. I got on the nearest ship, heading for Tarshish. Paid my fare, I sat down, trying to get as far away from God as I could. But God sent this huge storm, waves towering. The ship was about to break into pieces. The sailors were terrified. They all started crying out to their own gods. They threw everything that they had overboard to lighten the ship. And where was I? I was downstairs in the hold of the ship, sleeping. I remember hearing these voices bellowing out to me that it was the captain just telling me to get up and start praying to my God. I thought we were going to die. And then the sailors said to one another, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's find out who the culprit is. They drew straws. And who got the shortest straw? Me. So they started questioning me. Confess, who are you? Where'd you come from? What's your work? I told them, I'm a Hebrew. I worship God, the God of heaven, who made the sea and he made the land. At that the men were frightened, really frightened. And as they questioned me, they realised I was running away from God. So they asked me what they could do to stop this storm. By this time the sea was wild, totally out of control. So I said to them, throw me overboard into the sea. It's my fault, I'm the cause of the storm. Get rid of me and the storm will stop. But no. No, the men, they just kept rowing, trying to get back to shore, but they made no headway. The storm got worse and worse, wild and raging. And then they started praying to God. Don't let us drown because of this man's life. And don't let us be responsible for his death. You are God, do what you think is best. And then they took me, and they threw me overboard. And immediately the sea was quiet. The sailors were impressed, no longer terrified by the sea. They praised God, worshipped him, offered him sacrifices and made vows. Then God sent a big fish to swallow me up. I was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Then I prayed to God from the belly of the fish. In trouble, deep trouble, I prayed to God and he answered me. From the belly of the grave I cried help, and you heard my cry. You threw me into ocean depths, into a watery grave, with ocean waves, ocean breakers crashing over me. I said I've been thrown away, thrown out of your sight. I'll never again lay eyes on your holy temple. The ocean gripped me by the throat, the ancient abyss grabbed me and held tight. My head was all tangled in seaweed, at the bottom of the sea where the mountains take root. I was as far down as a body can go, and the gates were slamming shut behind me forever. You pulled me up from that grave alive. Oh God, my God! When my life was slipping away, I remembered God. And my prayer got through to you, made it all the way to your holy temple. Those who worship hollow gods, God frauds, walk away from their only true love. But I'm worshipping you, God. I'm calling out in thanksgiving, and I'll do what I promised I'd do. Salvation belongs to God. And God spoke to the fish, and it vomited me up on the land. And God spoke to me a second time. Get up on your feet and on your way to the big city of Nineveh. Preach to them. They're in a bad way and I can't ignore it any longer. This time, I started off straight for Nineveh, obeying God's orders to the letter. Nineveh was a big city, really big. It took 3 days to walk across it. I entered the city, went 1 day's walk and I preached. In 40 days, Nineveh will be smashed. The people of Nineveh listened and trusted God. They proclaimed a citywide fast and dressed in sackcloth to show their repentance to God. Everyone did it. Rich, poor, famous, obscure, leaders and followers. When the message got to the king of Nineveh, he got up off his throne, threw off his royal robes, put on sackcloth and sat in the dirt. Then he issued a public proclamation throughout Nineveh. Not one drop of water, not a single bite for man, woman or any animal. Dressed them all, both people and animals, in sackcloth and sent up a cry of help to God. Everyone must turn their back on their evil and violent ways. Who knows, maybe God will change his mind and let us live. And when God saw what they'd done, that they'd changed their ways, he changed his mind. And what he said he was going to do to them, he didn't do. And I was furious. I yelled at God. I was so angry. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it when I was back home. That's why I went to Tarshish. I knew it. I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, slow to anger, rich in love, and ready at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. So do you know what, God? If you won't kill them, then kill me, because I'm better off dead. And do you know what he said to me? He said, what have you got to be angry about? So do you know what? I left. I went out of the city and I sat up on a hill. So I put up a shower. I sat there in the shade waiting to see what would happen to the city, what he'd do. And God arranged for this broadleaf tree to spring up. It grew over my head and it cooled me off. I was pleased, it made me happy. Things started looking up. But God sent this worm, and by the next day the worm had bored into the tree and it had withered away. The sun came up and God sent this hot blistering wind. And then the sun beat down on my head again and I started to feel faint. I prayed that I'd die. Do you know what? I'd be better off dead. God said to me, what right do you have to get angry about this shade tree? Plenty of right. It's made me angry enough to die. God said, what's this? How can you change your mind about a mere shade tree that you did nothing to get? You neither planted nor watered it. It grew up one night and it died the next. So why can't I likewise change what I feel about Nineveh from anger to pleasure? This big city of 120,000 childlike people who don't know right from wrong, and to say nothing of the animals.